recorded live from the secret underground lair of Crimson Cowl Comics and Collectibles. This is the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast.
The following issues may contain spoilers. You hit Hulk? Well, then Hulk smash you. I'm Anthony.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Katie.
I'm Jim.
And I'm Eric.
Welcome to issue number 317 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast. Every time we record, we talk about comic books. On this week's show, we're covering two of our club discussion picks, Minor Arcana, issue number 2, and Marvel Zombies, Dawn of Decay, number 3. As a reminder, we have future issues of both of those titles, Batman Full Moon number 2, What If Minnie Mouse Became Captain Marvel, Alligator Loki, The Holiday Spectacular, What If Mickey and Friends Became the Fantastic Four, and Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon. So those are all upcoming club discussions as well. But in this episode, we're then going to jump over to the weekly reviews. That's where we go back and forth, talk about the books that we've been reading. They could be new, they could be old. Regardless, we're going to talk about them here. Then we're going to jump into the news segment. We're going to cover all of the previews catalogs for the December catalogs of Marvel, DC, and the Giant catalog for products coming out in February and beyond. So that is going to be the lineup for this show. Let's jump into the club discussion. We're going to kick it off with Minor Arcana number 2. Jeff Lemire continues his monumental new creator-owned series as Teresa enters the frightening memories of the dead, searching for peace for a desperate client of her late mother. There's a word I've never seen before. Liminal and lacking luminance beyond her darkest nightmares, the trance she trapped in is unfortunately exactly where she needs to be. However, Teresa's anger and unhealed past, combined with the revelation of magic being very real, will do more than muddy the waters, not to mention a dark figure trailing her from just beyond the light's edge. This comic is done by Jeff Lemire and Steve Wands. All right, we talked about issue number 1 of this, of course, of our character kind of coming back to a hometown. You can kind of see some of the dread on her face as she has a interaction with her mother that doesn't go so well, that makes her immediately regret coming back home. She had an incident in a diner of being recognized from an old classmate, and she immediately wanted nothing of it. Had a little moment in a bar of a little evidence that there was a drinking problem in her past and broken relationships, whether it was in her love life, family life, all of that kind of stuff. So this character, Teresa, came back to her hometown and in attentions to help out her mother, who is has this psychic business that has kind of run out of their house. And that's kind of just the overall setup of the series so far. This is issue number 2. We're going to dive right into our thoughts on this issue. I want to kick it off with Jim first. What are your thoughts on issue number 2 of Minor Arcana?
Well, I really did enjoy it. I had to reread it because it's been a while since I originally did. And I think the word you stumbled over before was liminal.
Okay. Yeah.
And it kind of means like the spaces in between, the between spaces, which really well describes what we see here when Teresa enters the hotel, and it is much more than an old hotel. It is the gateway to the other places that she actually goes and she visits. The place beyond, where the man that her client Jean asked about is existing until, who is also Jean. So it's Jean and Jean, and he is existing in the age of their honeymoon, waiting for her to join him. I thought that was just an amazing way to describe what we're doing there. And then her being lost in this place it was just, I think it would be a terrifying and exciting thing to experience.
Yeah, I think he did a good job of really just kind of bringing out the emotions and her going through those locations and her just trying to figure out what's going on. And yeah, I think he captured that mood pretty well in here. Any other thoughts to add on for the initial
Uh,
thought?
yeah, I think that would be a good place to stop and let somebody else join in.
Cool, cool. We're going to jump over to Eric. We welcome Eric back to the club here. So we'll have you give your thoughts and your kind of initial thoughts on how the series is through your eyes.
Well, I'd just say it was a really good setup, mostly because I find out I forget the character. I'm really terrible at remembering characters' names, but she came to the town with the basic "this is all BS" attitude, and basically she grew up thinking her mother was a crackpot, and then at the end of the first issue, she finds out, oh wait, something's happening. And I do like how I don't know how far Jim got in. Sorry, I've been multitasking. But yeah, when she actually realizes that, yeah, this hotel is not just some acid trip, there's, purpose behind it. Like she opens the door, she sees guy who looks like I don't know, I just want to say he looks like a hippie, is probably back in the 60s, whatever, so he probably was a hippie. It doesn't matter. But yeah, and then she realizes that, oh, she can communicate with people who passed on now, like her mother claimed to do, and now she doesn't. And I just want to know, is is this actually something she inherited from her mother? Is this her own innate ability? Or, was her mother always just a shyster? You never know. Or you don't know, at least not yet. But I like it because now she's feeling the weight of, okay, maybe everything I thought was crap is real. Now I have this ability, and what do I do with it? So, I know how this turns up later on because I've read up. I think I'm up to four. I think four is coming out soon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like the story. She's because she's just trying to find closure, and it doesn't look like she's going to get closure. Just a lot more questions, like if you're watching an episode of Lost or something. So,
Yeah.
Boom continues to get these really good independent titles that are just, you know, they they hook you with the first issue and you don't want to put them down. So,
And one thing that we covered when we talked about issue number one, I expressed my love for Jeff Lemire's work, how many times I've brought his titles to this very club. Do you have any attachment with his work? Are you familiar with his other work, or what was your drive to pick this up?
just the overall story,
Cool, cool.
it gave a good setup, and I like the art. It has its own style. It's just, sometimes I just browse through, find a story that looks interesting. I'm like, hey, this looks interesting. It
Cool,
didn't
cool.
disappoint. I think Boom's reputation for coming out with good stuff helps too. So,
Yeah, and bringing on a name like Jeff Lemire, who kind of brings his fan base, he brings it as established, talent to the world. And I've been telling people who, if this is their first time kind of reading his stuff proper, like where he does the both writing and the art, that if you like the art style and the story tones, he has a lot of that same stuff in all of his different books and characters and worlds that he works on. But they're all separate stories, but they all still, you know what you're getting when you pick up a Jeff Lemire book. So I've been basically recommending anything else with him if you're new to him. So cool, cool. Let's jump over to Katie. Thoughts on issue number two?
Yeah, another great issue. I really liked this a lot. I resonated with kind of the opening pages where she's talking about, where you have a nightmare and you realize it's a nightmare, but you can't wake up and it all feels like really, really real. I've been having that lately, so I resonated with that. And then I thought the part where she was talking with Jean was really touching, and I do hope Jean and Jean are reunited at some point. And I thought it was just a very sweet idea that he was real and he was there waiting for her. Um, really touching. But then it got spooky because apparently Teresa brought bad vibes or some kind of like evil spirit or something. I'm interested to see what that is. Um, and I will say at the very end of the book, I actually lost a little sympathy for Teresa. Like she was unnecessarily cruel to Jean. And on the one hand, I'm like, okay, they're trying to show she was really freaked out by this crazy spiritual experience she just had, but it flipped a little bit for me from last book where I was like, wow, her mom is really being toxic and is jumping on her case right away. And now Teresa was also being kind of toxic. So I lost a little sympathy for her. But I think the homeless guy at the end of the book and whoever he's talking to, whether that's a spirit or I guess we'll find out, is hinting that this is going to be part of Teresa's growth, that she's going to have to go through a period of being mean, of suffering through this world to accept or become, maybe her powers or her relationship with her mom and her hometown. I thought that was a ray of hope to kind of end this book on to keep me going. But yeah, my perspective of Teresa flip-flopped a little bit in this one. Really great read. I've read a decent amount of Jeff Lemire's stuff, particularly the Black Hammer universe, and always enjoy it. And this is another hit. So I will say if you've never read Jeff Lemire or haven't read it in a while, this is a good one to pick up because it's the first in a new series. So you don't have to try and figure out where you should get started, but solid book.
Excellent. Yeah, and I really like just how quick we got into whatever world he's developing with issue number 2 here. We had talked about it where we had the ad both in the first book as well as the next one. How there's a long form series from the creator of Sweet Tooth to be collected or deluxe hardcovers. Like we picked up that first issue and immediately we're just like, oh, this is like a finished thing. Like there's so much planning, that so much faith in the work, that like, oh, this is going to be collected in all these hardcovers already. Now if you're a new person on the scene, you're probably not given that, given that opportunity to be like, all right, well, let's just see how it sells first. But when you're Jeff Lemire and you're bringing your brand, your style, everything, bringing it to Boom Studios, there's definitely there's a lot going on and going in his corner to back it up, being like, oh yeah, you're gonna want 4 hardcovers of this. So knowing that it was going into it, not knowing it was going to be long form, but then right after the first issue finding that out, I love that we are just getting right into the weird stuff right away with issue number 2, rather than this going on for like 6 issues and her just kind of walking around town. I like that we have that trippy moment of talking with Jean right away, and so I like that we just get right into the thick of it. So
You bring up a good point that I wonder what's behind the other doors in this hallway. And I wonder if we're going to get to see them.
yeah, there's so much left to be. I think what you were saying too, it kind of does a really good job of making you excited for more and wanting to pick up another one. Any other thoughts that people want to throw in? Jim, you had kicked this off. I don't know if you had any other things to expand on.
Yeah, Katie brought up something that I kind of wondered when I first read it, how she kind of takes after her mom.
Oh yeah.
This one a lot more. And now you brought that up again. I'm thinking, are we gonna like be exploring more of the generational trauma thing here?
Oh sure.
And I'm wondering if that old hippie guy is that her grandfather that we kind of see a little bit in book 1
Yeah.
in flashbacks. Is that, is he like her guardian angel kind of thing through this? So she gets used to her powers and becomes what she's supposed to be, Is this an inherited thing?
Yeah, he had a real interesting
Good
kind of
point.
narration at the end there, where like he almost feels like he's not even in the book, like he's talking to the audience, and so that, yeah, there is something very mysterious about this guy that I'm sure we'll find out. But I'm curious, not to put Kirby on the spot, but if you've been listening and kind of, hearing our reactions and things like that, is there anything that you come up with, like kind of wondering what's going on? If you had any thoughts on questions or anything, or have you been multitasking?
I've been multitasking, but the little bits and pieces I've heard for each of the reviews you've done on this has definitely got my curiosity. I will be picking up the trade once it comes out. So
You'll be picking up all 4 deluxe hardcover editions.
gradually.
But yeah, that it's an interesting experiment, with when we pick a club pick and nobody's obligated to get everything, and so it's always interesting to kind of see, something that maybe you weren't sold on originally, but then you kind of hear some thoughts and reviews and kind of come around to it. Eric, did you have any other closing thoughts? Your audio is muted at the moment.
Sorry, nope, not really.
Okay.
Anthony, you did talk about some of his other works,
Yes.
and I'm just remembering back to a couple of years ago when he had several titles on the Kindle Unlimited or Comixology Unlimited with the Kindle, and yeah, some of them were very much like dealing with the supernatural, very much like this was, and yeah, they were all very good too. So I'm glad he's finding a commercial market outside of the free stuff for that type of thing again with new material.
Yeah, he's one of those that like every time like he's working on so much stuff, like the fact that he has time for not only the writing and the art of his own stuff, and he's working on multiple projects, writing for other people. And I've mentioned this before, I've reviewed it in the past, but the thing that is my favorite thing he's ever done is Royal City, and that is about a family who had suffered a loss of a family member. And to not give so much of it, I want to just give you a little tease. Basically, we we get memories, and each family member sort of sees this lost family member from a different age that they had lived. And it's kind of a real interesting story as everybody else is relating and remembering this lost family member in a different way at a different time of their life. And Royal Family is, or Royal City, Royal Family, Royal City. He has Family Tree, I think, is another one he does. So if I've been saying Royal Family, I've been meaning Royal City. But yeah, I I love that, and this one I'm getting some good vibes too as well. So
Sure, it's not Royal Tree
it might be Royal Tree. Maybe that's the next one.
and Tree City.
So yeah, if there's no other closing thoughts, I think that will do it for issue number 2 of Minor Arcana. Seems like we're all on board and enjoying this thus far. Now we're going to change the tone a little bit here. We did mention a tree, I was talking about family tree and all that kind of stuff, and we do have a tree in our next book. We're talking about Marvel Zombies: Dawn of Decay, issue number 3. Deep beneath the streets of New York City, lured by the cries of a child, Groot and Hulk are forced to take a detour and venture into the dank subway tunnels. Unfortunately, the underground is teeming with the newly transformed, and though their appetites are large, Giant Man's is enormous. This comic is done by Thomas Krajewski, Jason Murr, Rochelle Rosenberg, and VC's Travis Lanham. All right. This is the all ages series of Marvel Zombies of Groot and Hulk basically being like the last like superhero survivors of this most recent zombie apocalypse that kind of takes place in its own continuity as most of these Marvel zombie stories do. It's them basically going through the city trying to get to Avengers Tower. Hulk is all hulked out and trying to keep him keep Banner safe, basically, so he can't get infected, so he can get to the lab in Avengers Tower and find the cure and all this stuff that was basically started and possibly started, we'll find out later, through Groot and a disease that he had contracted that turned everybody into these zombies through a sneeze. It's been a lot of fun. Basically, a good kind of buddy comedy horror type of deal. So we're going to talk about issue number 3. I want to kick it off with Kirby first. Gets an input on your thoughts for Marvel Zombies Dawn of Decay, issue number 3.
I still like this run, but issue 2 and 3 were just so quick. It's hard to really talk about too much in them, but it has flowed very quickly. The thing, starting off right away in the beginning with the crying baby, I was kind of, I'm like, we got a crying baby. I knew it was fake when you seen the mommy, help me thing, and instantly thinking, okay, do we got smart zombies now too? So they're setting up a trap for him. But then they open it up and see it's just a doll. And it's like, what doll really says that? It's just constantly saying, mommy, help me, mommy. That was kind of weird for a doll, in my opinion. And
Only
then
in the Marvel Universe.
then I like, too, that when Groot smacks Banner to Hulk him up again.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, how does Banner know that Groot did it? He's surrounded by the Flora zombies. Groot's not even next to him, and he instantly blames Groot.
Yeah, that was a good moment.
But yeah, this is still enjoyable, but yeah, it's very quick reads because, of course, Groot and Hulk both of them don't really talk that much. So, but yeah, it's still holding up.
Good. Katie, thoughts on this issue?
Yeah. Kirby said it well. This was a pretty quick and fun issue. I liked this a lot better than issue 2 just because it did move the story forward. I actually thought the subway scene was, pretty cool and, creepy enough for a kid's book. I liked that. And then, Kirby called it last week in that, well, Hulk can't get infected, but Bruce Banner can. So as soon as I read that, I was like, Kirby was right, 100%. And then I kind of liked the way they played out the realization between the two of them that Groot's actually not patient zero, that there was somebody else. I thought that was interesting. And then, I liked at the end where they're like, well, now we got to get Captain America back. And then, of course, we get our Avengers Assemble moment. This was fun. I don't have too many deep thoughts about it, but I enjoyed it. Continuing to enjoy Groot and Hulk getting to be the focus of this because that's not a usual pairing. And then there was one little moment where like they found like a Rocket Raccoon toy.
Oh,
and I just thought that was kind of goofy. Yeah. And Hulk's like, "Oh, I like that."
Yeah, that moment there had brought in, we're having all this fun and goofy and funniness and stuff, and then Groot's a little sad when he sees that, and then it has a
Yeah.
little voice box as well of Rocket going, "Blam, murdered you." But yeah,
that cracked me up when Hulk starts laughing at him.
Mm-hmm.
I just looked at this little shop here for Avengers Tower play sets. There's a little Black Panther, there's a Captain America, so they got a couple,
Yep.
little
Bunch of little plushies.
But,
Dang, even Avengers Tower has a gift shop now.
yeah, because I noticed that in the page before, assembly required, and they've got souvenirs. So anybody who's kind of visiting New York and going near the tower and stuff, then they can buy all their Avengers souvenirs right outside. So
Is that Avenger assembly required?
yeah.
Hey.
Oh, and then the little kind of play set too, where they have a little. It kind of looks like the Mini Mates pals block figures. And then when Giant Man gets shrunk down and gets attacks the little toy Hulk and stuff.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was funny.
I thought it looked like a Lego Hulk, but yeah, that'll work too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably as far away from
Yeah.
not being legal, like
Yeah.
block looking.
All squared out.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Jim, thoughts on this issue?
Yeah, it didn't move the story a whole heck of a lot forward. It's like I think 2 and 3 could have been a single issue, but then you
Agreed.
again look at it's going towards a all ages, so you want a little bit more simplified story, a little bit more action. So they did show that spread over the 2 issues. Um, I thought, okay, Groot, why are you choking him off so you can carry him when you obviously could carry him no matter what? Only to have to wake him up like 3 blocks later. But yeah, other than that, yeah, it was another fun issue. I'm interested to see what happens when they find Captain America again and how that's going to happen. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
And I'll ask Eric, thoughts on this as you were listening to us kind of talking about this, and do you have any reactions and questions and theories? What's happening over here?
I can't really have any theories, but all I can say is it sounds like a very fun issue or a fun comic. So
Yeah, fun little
maybe
series.
I'll look at it
Mhm.
when it goes to trade, maybe.
Yeah. I think this would read really well in trade.
Yeah, 4 issue mini. We're talking about it being kind of realizing when reading issue one that it was an all ages feel to it because it has a lot of the kids book advertisements in there and stuff. So I think they're doing a really good job. Once again, we just keep repeating ourselves with it, but doing a good job of telling a one of their zombie stories, but for a younger audience as well as an older audience, like all of us, young at heart. So there we go. That is going to do it for Marvel Zombies Dawn of Decay issue number 3. And once again, plenty other club picks to come as we continue on. And maybe we'll find some more as we go through the previews later on in the episode. But we can't get to that segment until we do the weekly reviews. Welcome to the weekly reviews. First up is what I believe is a one shot that has no connection to anything ever. I know nothing about this. I just jumped into it and was really in love with it. We're talking about The Lumberjack Bride. There was an old ghost story of a scorned lumberjack left at the altar on her wedding day. This was told to scare children around the campfire so they wouldn't wander off at night. There couldn't really be an axe wielding ghost roaming these woods and looking for heads to chop, could there? This is done by Stephen Coughlin and Rob Jones. All right, I like the title of Lumberjack Bride. Thought it was a decent enough little synopsis there. Knew nothing about it. I just assumed this was a number one. There's no numbering on it. It's a complete story as far as just kind of a one-off thing. This is from Bad Kids Press, independent comics for independent people. But yeah, so I was just drawn into it by the name. Right away in the beginning, I see that it's a second printing. So when I saw it in the catalog, it was kind of being resolicited to a second issue. This was a lot of fun. I had a feeling from the get go that I was going to like this. We have this scout leader kind of taking some troops on a little camping trip. They're on a hiking trip, going through the woods, and then they're hunkering down for a ghost story. And there's a lot of calling out to ghost story tropes as far as like you know just kind of being like, all right, we know you're telling a scary story, but we're gonna have to believe that you're also scared and this thing is really real. And like there's a lot of like parody moments that isn't like slapstick type of making fun of the genre, but there's a lot of just really kind of being obvious and calling it out for comedic effect. But the story is taking place as the scout leader is talking about a tale about this lumberjack character who happens to fall in love and very quickly they get engaged. They get setting up the ceremony. We're seeing them on the wedding day and all that stuff. And then, as the synopsis says, the lumberjack was left at the altar. Now, this is a one-shot story. I pretty much don't want to give too much details, but um, once she was left at the altar, I'll tease this part because it's pretty cool and it's leads into the cover and all that stuff. But she's a little upset. She's down. She's experiencing this loss of this newfound love who is now decided to not to go through with it. And she's walking past her the wedding gifts that are all sitting there, and there happens to be one that's wrapped up in a bow here. As we see this nice little lumberjack axe that she happens to walk by. That's a bunch of cake on her face, by the way. She had the wedding cake and she decided to go through and just eat it all anyways, because hey, why not? So you paid for the cake, might as well. That's right there on the panel before that. I'll show that scene. But so yeah, it all really kicks into gear when she comes across somebody gifting her this brand new axe, and that leads into her wanting to get some revenge. And once again, this is all being told through the lens of a ghost story for these kids. The kids are all reacting to it, and it's still very comedic on how these kids are, wondering whether or not this is supposed to be a true story, or if it is just a tale just to try to get them to be scared on this camping trip, and being very not fourth wall breaky, but once again just being very upfront and very calling it out to the fact that they know the tropes of a campfire story. But yeah, once again, it's a one shot, so there's really nothing more I can talk about other than the fact that I love the heck out of this. If this was several more issues, I would buy more immediately. I got to look into this and see if this was just meant as kind of a random one shot thing. It got a second printing, so maybe it's just like, all right, test the waters. Maybe we'll go through and tell some more of the lumberjack bride tales. And I have no idea if this is meant to go anywhere, but if you were just looking to pick it up as a one-off story, very satisfying as a campfire story there. So that is the Lumberjack Bride from Bad Kids Press. And I think the only connection, I was trying to think I'm not too familiar with the creator. Maybe, actually, you know what? I think it's part of my other book where the creator worked on something that's very famous. So yeah, I'm not too familiar with this person at all, but I'm going to take a look and see if there's more of this universe to explore. The Lumberjack Bride, check it out. Kirby.
I got Negasonic Teenage Warhead #1, also a one shot. I was happy to finally see a story that I could read of hers that was newer. Ever since her appearance in Deadpool, I've been into that character. And speaking of Deadpool, it starts out nicely with her and Deadpool dealing with some characters, basically murderers they got the call to go after him for some reason. It doesn't really explain if it was a set up through like X-Men, X-Force or something like that. But they go and deal with those characters, and then a little bit later they're out in the woods and we see Deadpool running. Negasonic sitting on the car, wondering what's going on. He goes jumping over the top of her, and we find out that they're on a job. The next job was to go and collect a pig for someone. And here's this pig that has a tattoo and a big pink polka dot bow on it, and it's chasing Deadpool. And apparently it's big enough that it ate 2 people before it went after Deadpool. Negasonic Warhead zaps it into some different dimension for now. It comes back a little bit later in the story, but yeah, this is really fun. It takes you into what the whole book's about. The whole book is about where she has to go and find her future girlfriend Yuki. And neither one of them know each other at the moment or anything like that, but Negasonic's got the ability to see things from the future and all that stuff. So he sees this thing where everything's gonna end if she doesn't get to Yuki and kiss her, and which is kind of hard when it's someone that you haven't even met yet. You haven't even got to go on a date or hang out together or anything, and you gotta find them within an hour and kiss them, or the world's gonna end. And she's off in another whole dimension, so it kind of crosses over with a bunch of other female characters from the Marvel Universe. Yeah, I'm not going to give them out anyways because you should read this book. But Scarlet Witch is one of the main characters that helps her out. And we also have the the Time Force Police from Loki. Those characters, they're after her for the events, thinking that she's gonna cause the end of humanity, but yet they aren't listening to her, that she's seen visions beyond a point and all that stuff. But yeah, they're constantly chasing her. There's another group of characters chasing them. You got a bunch of the female superheroes that are trying to help her and get her and Yuki together. And when we do finally get to where Yuki is, they also have to kind of search for Negasonic Warhead's mother's special jacket, because that was her division and all that stuff. And there's all kinds of things. But yeah, you'll once they do get to that area, find out that Yuki's fighting a Galactus type character, and it's not going to go any further than that. But yeah, there's tons of fun characters. Nice big read. It took me most of the day during claim sales to read it today. But yeah, lots of stuff happening in here. Great sticky one shot. But I was so happy I picked this up, and I hope they have another run or 2 or 3 or 4 coming out for her, because she's a lot of fun, and I want to see her and Yuki together.
Excellent. All right, let's jump over to Katie with your review. I'm going to just say, let it go.
Yes, we're going to go into the unknown with this book. We have Disney's Frozen 2, the manga, adapted by Arina Tanemura. This is the plot of Frozen 2. So it starts with everyone is happy and safe in Arendelle, and Anna is in love with Kristoff, and he wants to propose to her. And Elsa is hearing voices that she feels are calling to her to go and do something. And she ends up following these voices with the advice of the trolls from the first movie to an enchanted forest that is stuck decades ago in the past in time. And there's 2 groups of people, some Arendelian soldiers and Northuldra people who are an indigenous or native tribe to that forest. And they're kind of stuck, sort of fighting, sort of not for decades. And we find out that Anna and Elsa's grandparents actually betrayed a treaty that they were going to make with the Northuldra people, and then the 4 spirits, water, air, earth, and fire, definitely not, from the Avatar universe, were angry at this, and so they trapped this forest perpetually in time so that no one could get hurt. And while they're there, Anna and Elsa discover that their parents who had died in a shipwreck were looking for the answer to why does Elsa have her powers. And we find out that she is the embodiment of the 5th spirit, and she has to go to this kind of magical island called Adahalan, where she has a big musical number, and we find out she is the 5th spirit, and only she can bring balance and save this magical forest from the enchantment and rescue the people of Arendelle from a terrible flood that's going to take out the fjord. And in the end, the Snow Sisters save the day, and Elsa decides that she's going to take up the mantle of the 5th spirit, and Anna is going to become queen of Arendelle, and everyone lives hopefully happily ever after until we get to Frozen 3. So that's kind of the plot. They did not really change the plot. It's not like this is like an extended edition or a what if type of thing. To me, where this stood out is the art is just absolutely beautiful. Elsa was made to be an anime character. Like, she is just, her bone structure, the way their eyes are so expressive, fits really well for this style of art. I thought it was super detailed. Like, even though it's black and white, it just was such an enriching experience. I loved that. And then I looked up the author, and she is a famous shoujo mangaka. So she does quite a few romance mangas and slice of life mangas. So she is absolutely perfect for this. We have Elsa and Anna both fit the magical girl stereotype in manga and anime pretty well, Elsa especially. And I thought it was really good in that regard. Something creative they did is at no point does anyone break out in song in this book, but they did weave some of the words from the big songs into this story, and in a way that it felt kind of poetic and a little bit musical, but it wasn't just, hey, we're singing the words to let it go, or some things never change. I liked that. I thought that was cleverly done. Um, Not really criticisms, just a slight critique. Reading this made me realize that the plot of Frozen 2 has a lot of great elements, but it's definitely lacking in cohesion and how they put all those elements together. Um, make of that what you will. It's just something I picked up while reading this book where I'm like, okay, how this is all really cool, but the threads connecting this are a little loosey-goosey for me. And then I think Disney missed an opportunity not making a manga of Frozen 1 and releasing this as a deluxe box set. Just from a marketing perspective, you slap Anna and Elsa on it and it will make money. And people are going to buy it for their kids, whether they're into like manga or not. So I thought that was an opportunity that I'm surprised they didn't take advantage of. Um, I would say like this is honestly for, I don't see why anyone 10 and up couldn't read this. And if they're big readers, they can read it when they're younger. If you feel like the movie is appropriate for them, the book will be appropriate for them too. Where I thought this shines is maybe for older kids and tweens who are getting to the point of, well, they're too cool for princesses, and they don't want people to know that they liked that, but they're still not totally ready to give it up. I thought this could be a cool way to kind of bridge both of those needs, until you get grown up enough where you realize that none of this is real and nothing matters and you can just like what you like and it's silly and goofy and that's fine. But I do remember feeling like, well, I still like the Disney princesses, but now I'm too old for it. That's not cool anymore. That's just kid stuff. I think this could be a good bridge. Anyway, Frozen 2, the manga. This cover is so pretty. It retails for $15 and it is published by Viz Media and Disney Publishing. Check it out and go into the unknown.
They got me excited to rewatch the movies. It's been a while, but yeah, that's cool. I like. I'm intrigued by the use of the lyrics for the songs, but then putting them into the scene without big musical dance. So that's kind of a cool little technique. So
yeah,
cool. All right, now we're gonna jump over to Eric. What you gonna talk about first?
All right. First is an indie anthology series released by Alien Books, written by Damien Colony, called Damaged People. It might surprise you to find out that each one centers around a damaged person. So yeah, this was just another random pick that I looked up. Just found the previews, thought, hey, let's take a look. And it turned out to be really good. I mean, each book is its own self-contained story, and it's kind of hard to put this in a genre because of the way it switches. First one was about a girl who came across a ghost in an abandoned house, and she would go visit this ghost, and she'd share her music with the ghost. And it was odd because they found a connection and moved on to try to help the ghost find the unfinished business. Second one is about a girl who's a bug collector. She comes across this weird old hermit in the woods that she goes to collect bugs, and they end up actually bonding over a traumatic event. Third one was a vampire who inhabited her own cemetery, and she met a guy who fell in love with, and I want to say it's a much better story than Twilight, but that's not saying much. But yeah, so she connects with him, and then he wants to enter her world, become a vampire himself. But the fourth one, this one, it was a major gut punch just because reading it, the emotional content centers around a young man who's involved in like the original goth scene. We're talking about The Cure. He would wear like the red lipstick, eyeliner, pale face, wears hair up. Basically like how my brother was in high school, essentially. And he's pretty solitary. He goes into his routine is after work on the weekends, he goes to a club where they usually like to play The Cure and other, like the early goth bands. And he runs into a guy named Alex who he apparently, he gets a liking to because they bond over their music and the emotional content. And they become really good friends. And the boy who centers around named Roman, he realizes he might have more feelings than simply friends. And the day he goes over to see Alex, he wants to confess, say, "Hey, I might be having these feelings." Right before he gets that, Alex gets a phone call. "Oh no, my girlfriend's coming over." So he has to beat it. He just leaves to go to his club. On the way, he gets mugged, but he goes to a bar on the way in the club, clean himself up. Otherwise, they're not going to let him in. He sees people that both him and Alex knew, and they're like, "Oh my God, did you hear? Alex was just murdered." Yeah. So at that point, you're like, whoa, okay. And then it devolves into him basically like, okay, I had all this stuff. I wanted to tell him. Was this something that was part of me, or was it just a part of our link? All of that, he now has to just go on where I never told him, and I'm not sure where it's going to go. And I mean, like I said, the art in it's really good, fairly photorealistic. It tends to be very drab, sometimes monochromatic. There's like only about 4 or 5 colors that are like used in each issue, if that. And yeah, the art itself, I think, blends in with blends in with the content. A lot of the people who, the story center around damaged people, they tend to be loners trying to find their place in the world. And a lot of times, sometimes they find what they're looking for, other times they don't. Either way, not really sure what the next story is going to be. And I don't know how long this is going to go on, but I'm hoping it keeps going and just stays an ongoing series because the writer Damian Connolly, he really seems to have a lot of good stories to tell.
Yeah.
If you feel like getting punched in the gut, Damaged People, definitely a good series to look at.
You said anthology, so each one is just a completely different set of characters and stories.
Pretty much. And like I said, genre, because so far 2 have been supernaturally involved, the other 2 not at all.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
it just seems stories he wants to tell, but doesn't want to have to lump them all up into, one genre. So
cool.
Pretty good.
All right, I have an announcement to make. I can count to 10. And I say that because I've read this book called I Can Count to 10. Presented as a child's primer book for maths, I Can Count to 10 is without a doubt, the single most completely useless teaching aid for anyone looking for a book to teach them how to count to 10. What starts off as the cutest counting book in the history of education soon descends spectacularly into a single goriest, bloodiest, and funniest non-teaching aid ever that somehow manages to shoehorn in a sinister government conspiracy and an alien invasion into a gentle tale of a bunch of lovable numbers introducing themselves in order. This book is done by Roman Dirge. This was another one of those preview catalog things where I'm just like, I don't know what's going on here, but this looks adorable. I had no idea. Like I don't even remember reading that synopsis. And what's great is that right away on the first page, you have a giant warning, and the warning is, "Hey everyone, Roman here. So like, This clearly isn't actually a children's book. I felt I had to put this disclaimer because I can foresee the inevitable. I bought this here book to teach my child how to count, and now they're off killing the neighbor's chickens, and it's all your fault. I've literally put a giant red flag here above me with a warning in bold letters right at the beginning. So, having made this super ridiculously clear, let's do this. And just in case you missed all of that warning signs, there are a bunch of little dancers off in the corner on this page here, and they say, "Hi, we're not a kids' book dancers, reminding you this is not a kids' book." So they do a lot of work on this first page to just let you know you're not going to use this to have your kid learn to count to 10. So now that we've announced that, there'll be a couple of the things I'll kind of introduce here. Very simple, like illustrated type book, and going off number by number, and you got these little alien creatures that are introducing themselves and saying I'm one, and then you go to number two, and they're like, well, now there's a second alien that comes into the scene here. And hey, now there's two of us, so we're two. And it goes on until we meet a character that is kind of making the other ones feel a little awkward. This character shows up in the fourth spot. They're all a little frightened. I'm going to zoom in on this middle one here. This will be a little treat for anybody. If you're listening right now, you got to subscribe to Crimson Cowl Comic Club over on YouTube, because this is the full video version. So the middle alien here is a little extra scared of what's happening here, and you see that he can't control whatever's happening with some bodily functions. And as we go through here, it gets real interesting. Now this will be an interesting thing that I'm going to have to make a note for editing. I'm going to show our club members the next couple pages, but for the video audience, I'm going to cut that part out because it's a quick read. But I think with amongst friends here, I want to show you what happens. So I will be cutting this part of the video out. But as we meet one of these extra numbered aliens, things get extra crazy and ridiculous. We get some commentary from the other numbers that are kind of introducing themselves, wondering what's going on in this story. It gets more gruesome as we just keep flipping the pages. We're stuck on the same number and they're kind of freaking out. And it just really goes through quite the journey. I'm going to find one more to share here. This was gruesome. Once again, no one's going to see this in the video feed. One of these aliens here had a particular encounter. So once again, the warning that this book gave in the beginning, now we're back to the video feed. The warning that they gave was much needed, because you have this book and it really does look like, I think I was still going to be buying like an adorable, like, oh, I like the illustration here. And I don't at all recall that reading that synopsis. And I mean, I was pleasantly surprised because I really have I have no limit on entertainment, so this was a pleasant surprise. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. It is a quick read, but I think it's a really good experiment with the genre of doing like a parody of an illustrated kids book to learn, and just taking that off the hinges and going wild with it, as you saw with those later panels. It just gets crazier and crazier, and more hilarious. Other characters come in, and just there's extra drama that's being thrown into the story. And yeah, I was blown away by how ridiculous and fun this was. I didn't expect to have this much fun with it. And then, as I mentioned earlier, because I'm not familiar with the name of this Roman dirge, but in the back they have the credits for Lenore, which I'm very familiar with, at least in the thing that it's a thing. There's probably been like free comic book day issues of Lenore, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm sure I've read some Lenore in those contexts. I don't know what the reading like age demographic is for these series, but
I could tell you because I'm a big fan of Lenore.
okay.
So when you said Roman Dirge, I'm like, oh, this is good. Yeah, Lenore is basically a resurrected dead girl who came back to life after being embalmed, who tries to go around, she tries to go around playing, but she usually ends up causing cute little creatures and people around her terrible, terrible fates. So the whole cute contrasted with creepy,
Yeah.
that's Roman Dirge for you.
Well, I gotta say, even though I probably read Lenore here and there, this book really opened my eyes to what this creator has done, and I'm gonna go and revisit some Lenore and look at some collections and see what I can do and more. But yeah, this was a real pleasant surprise and just a unique experiment, and just really shows just an artistic when you're kind of given an artistic freedom to do what you want and be, with this publisher. And this is from Titan Comics, who I think they do Lenore as well. But where it's just like, oh yeah, you want to release a kids counting book that's not at all for kids? Go for it. Like I like that creative freedom. So I'm gonna now have to check out Lenore, and your additional explanation of the character got me intrigued too. So yeah, I Can Count to 10 by Roman Dirge. This was great. So check it out. And actually, Eric, we're going to jump back to you because you're going to have the last one here. So if you are ready with it,
Okay.
I say go, go.
All right. I will go to Power Rangers Prime #1. As some may or may not know, the Power Rangers line that had started with Boom actually came to an end. They finished it. I was sad to see it go because I think they did a really good job with the property. So now they're starting a new ongoing Power Rangers Prime. It doesn't have any of the original Rangers. Basically, it opens up in an alternate dystopian world where there were Power Rangers before they brought in Power Rangers Samurai, because they had been protecting the Earth the whole time, and it was like a long bloodline. But then it came to, what they called it, the invasion of the beasts, and they couldn't hold on to it. So the Eltarians, they're the race that Zordon was. The Eltarians came in, they protected us, and they decided, hey, why don't you join us? You can be part of our empire, and we will take care of you. But in doing so, they also completely banned Power Rangers. Instead, they have their own force, which you might remember from the 90s, the VR Troopers.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they're the only who are kind of like Watchmen-esque. They're the only government-approved Rangers you can have. So during this, you see like I said, it opened up with Power Ranger Samurai Lauren Shiba, who was actually in the show Power Ranger Samurai. She came in. She's being chased down by a bunch of Eltarians, and we find and is found by someone who I'm guessing might be a Ranger. I haven't seen any of the new Rangers yet. So she was taken in, and a bunch of and him and a bunch of other friends who are Eltarian, human, outer planetary refugees. They take Lauren Shiba in, and just as their dorm is about to be searched by the Eltarians for it, the moon explodes, sending something that might look familiar to the ground, and ends with, "Finally, I'm free," which looks to be a less cheesy version of Rita Repulsa. And her hands have like some of the Power Ranger colors on it. So from here, I think it's a much more interesting take, because the Altarians, who were the good guys forever, they're now, they're now running things, turned Earth into one of their colonies. Sure, there's peace, but at what cost? So I think this is a interesting new take. To my understanding, Hasbro has discontinued any future plans with Power Rangers. So for at least for the short term, it looks like this might be the only Power Ranger thing, only Power Ranger story that might be coming out in the near future.
Okay.
So, and did we lose Jim?
Yeah, he did disappear from the screen, so we'll see what happens here. But that is going to do it for the weekly reviews. But we do have another segment, and that is the news.
And now, the news.
All right, time for the previews. We are going to dive into all of the catalogs. We are going to start with Marvel Comics, then over to DC, and then jump into all the independent stuff. So, kicking it off with Marvel Comics, I'm going to look at my list that I have here, and it's all in alphabetical order, so the companies are mixed in. I got to see if I have anything from Marvel that is, yep, here we go. This one I think maybe might catch the attention of others because it fits into our demographic of what we've talked about in the past. Marvel Mutts. Marvel Mutts. Join the Marvel Mutts in their very first comic book adventure, collecting issues. Oh, I didn't see this. Issues. Oh, okay. Issues number 1 through 12 of the Friday Funny series. These heartwarming tales and wagging tales are sure to elicit a round applause, featuring Lockjaw, Lucky, Cosmo, Bats, and Ms. Marvel's dearest doggy, Mittens. This pack is packing the cute, so fetch yourself a copy and have a ball with Marvel's Mightiest Mutts. So yeah, I had to hesitate there when I saw the 12 issue thing, but it's being broken down into separate. I had to look at if I was buying a trade or something there. But yeah, so that is Marvel Mutts. That looks like a lot of fun. The Friday it says Friday Funnies. I don't know if that's part of the Marvel Unlimited thing or a website thing they're doing, but either way, it looks like fun. And then Kamala Khan's on the cover, and there's Pizza Dog there. So I'm gonna pick up Marvel Mutts. Kirby?
Yes, I'm on the Marvel Mutts train too.
That's two people from Marvel
And
Mutts.
my last, the only other Marvel that I'm considering is Eddie Brock's Carnage #1. I'm thinking about at least getting maybe the first 3 of this run because it's done by Charles Soule and Jesus Saez, the most lethal protector of all. He's been Venom. He's been Anti-Venom. He's been the King in Black. Now Eddie Brock has made his darkest bond yet as he joins with the one and only Carnage. Can he control his new other's endless bloodlust, or will he give himself over to the madness and murder? Writer Charles Soule and artist Jesus Saez lead us on a journey into the darkest parts of Marvel Universe with bloody death as our only guide. So yeah, I want to see what he does in a Carnage suit.
It's a pretty strong creative team there, so it seems like a good gamble to take. Cool. Katie, anything from Marvel?
Not a ton. As far as new things, I am interested in Star Wars Jedi Knights #1, being written by Mark Guggenheim, and the art is by Madibek Musabekov. It looks like a new series that's going to be set in the prequel area, featuring Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, Mace Windu, and more. It's going to be $4.99. It will be available on March 5th.
Alrighty. And yeah, we were talking about this beforehand, how some of these Marvel DC preview picks have been getting smaller and smaller. So I don't have anything else from Marvel. Is that it for Marvel altogether? Eric, have you been jumping into the catalogs at all?
Well, you pretty much got it. Marvel Mutts. That was the only Marvel one that I really had any interest in. Because,
All right.
I like dogs more than most people anyway. So, hey, Marvel Mutts? Okay.
I would be open to that as well.
All right, we'll officially nominate that as a club pick. Now it says it's collecting issues 1 through 12 of the Friday Funnies. I'm assuming that's all in a one shot, just because Funnies is kind of alluding to that it's a newspaper type of strip type of deal. So not that we're
Yeah,
committing.
I'm looking at it and it says one shot. So I'm guessing it's
Okay.
like it's Jeff compilation somewhat.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I don't see that on my side, so that's good confirmation. So yeah, Marvel Mutts will officially be a club discussion pick, and I'll share that in the club group so that everybody is aware. So anything else from Marvel, or are we all done already?
All done here.
Okay, and
Yeah, that's about it.
I'm looking at DC Comics, and here I got one from DC, but it's an old comic because it's a facsimile edition. Saga of the Swamp Thing facsimile edition from issue number 37. The Alan Moore and Rick Vidich. Let's see. This is the first appearance of John Constantine. That's the important of that issue. The Swamp Thing is pondering questions about who and what he really is. But does he truly want the answers? Only a mysterious visitor, cloaked in cigarettes and a trench coat, seem to have them. And he'll require certain services from Alec before he's willing to share. So yeah, this is just one of their facsimile editions and reprinting the original comics, putting in original ads and all that kind of stuff. I have all these, issues, and I don't need this one, but there is a blank sketch cover variant. So just to have that Swamp Thing Saga Swamp Thing logo treatment, I put one of those in my basket for that sake. Anything from DC over there, Kirby?
Nope.
Katie?
No thanks. Open to club picks, of course.
There we go. And Eric?
Not anything that's jumping out at me either. So
And I'm looking at my list, and I think the only other thing was just following along on that Poison Ivy series that I've been digging. I'm behind on it, but I'm still buying them, and they got awesome Jenny Frison variant covers. So, but the story is great regardless of the Jenny Frison option there. Okay, so that is that. Let's just start with Kirby if you want to kick us off with the just so I wasn't starting every round there.
Sure.
The Independence, what do you got?
I got Savage Tales Winter 2025 Special Number 1. The Savage Tales returns with an all-new winter special to warm the cockles of readers' wild and untamed hearts. It's got 3 hard-boiled stories with two-fisted action and barbaric brutality, written by David Avalon and illustrated by a variety of people. We got Iman Casalos takes on Mutiny on Mars, starring John Carter and Deja Thoris. Marino Benitez Chapo finds the real thing with Vampirella. And Hamish Monroe Cook closes the book on Captain Gulliver Jones with his War Chapter 3. Yeah, should be interesting.
All right. Jump over to Katie.
Sure. So, continuing a series I've really been enjoying, we have Kaiju number 8, volume 12 from Viz Media. This is going to be in stores on February 5th. It's going to be $12. This is continuing kind of the big battle where we have a whole bunch of different Kaiju sleeper cells were activated and are attacking throughout the country, and every member of the defense force is kind of getting their moment to shine in a volume. So it says the Eastern Division has been attacked by identified class kaiju. Narumi and Kikoro have taken care of their targets, but Hoshina is still facing off against number 11, the finished project that number 10 served as the prototype for. Even worse, Numbers Weapon 10 won't output more than 83% unleashed combat power, making this battle even more of a struggle for Hoshina. Definitely been a lot of action and beating up kaiju and firing all kinds of crazy big guns and wearing armor in these past few volumes. So if that's something you're into, I think you'd really enjoy this. And it's written and art by Naoyo Matsumoto. Check it out. Really liking it.
Excellent. Eric, anything from the Independents?
oh yeah. First, I have Star Trek Lower Decks Volume 2. Mostly because I liked the first one, and I've always been a fan of Star Trek Lower Decks. And the way that they did the first volume, where they put all the different references. We're talking about this. This is referencing this Star Trek episode from the original series. It's, because it's apparently it must be canon within Trek, but it's also really weird. I don't know if anyone ever saw the crossover of Strange New Worlds where Captain Pike runs into two of the characters from Lower Decks. That was insane. But yeah, I like it because it's Star Trek, but it's also, weird too at the same time. I'm really sad that the series is ending.
Excellent. A graphic novel I'm interested called Crumble. Let's see here. Emily, hold on here. I gotta see if this is, yep. Emily, her mom, and her Aunt Gina have a very special magical power. They can bake emotions into the desserts they sell at their family bakery. Need a dash of confidence? Try their millionaire shortbread. Want a relief after a stressful day? The cheesecake will lighten your spirits. There is only one rule. Never bake a bad feeling. Every day after school, Emily and her best friend, Day, make tried and true recipes while she and Aunt Gina brainstorm new ones. But when Aunt Gina dies in an accident, Emily's life is turned upside down. Not knowing what to do, Emily breaks the rule and bakes her bad feelings into a crumble. It looks gross. Day says it tastes gross, but they can't stop eating it. Neither can Emily's classmates, and with her grief and pain baked into the crumble, Emily gets the comfort of being at least a little numb. So even though she's not supposed to, she makes it again and again and again. But baking and eating bad feelings doesn't really make them go away. Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting concept. I like the cover design and the title treatment and stuff, and real unique take. And yeah, I'm gonna check that out. That's Crumble, a graphic novel. Herbie?
We got, which I'm surprised it's this catalog and wasn't last catalog, but we got Creep Show in Love. It's a one shot by Mirka Andelfo and various people, and Chris Burnham and Brian Reber are doing the artwork. Or no, I think those are those are cover artists. Sorry. We got Romance and Creep Show. This 3-course special is for all the lonely hearts out there. First, murderous Mirka Andolfo from Sweet Paprika spins a horrifying yarn about the Valentine's Day killer in Madness of Two. Then petrifying Patrick Horvath from beneath the trees where nobody sees concocts a love potion for the cursed Casanova. Finally, yelping Yul Pyong and the Paranormal Pure invite you to the zoo for the worst first date ever in Penguin Avenger. All he would have to say was Penguin Avenger, and I would have bought the book.
Well, you had mentioned about the release date because these are for the February release, so that one's scheduled for February 12th. So yep, because that one is in my list as well. There's a couple Valentine related ones, whether it be Archie and stuff, but the bulk of
I've been telling everybody December for March. So, oops.
Yep, two months out for most of them. Some of them might be if it's a graphic novel or something, but. So, yep. So just want to clarify that these Valentine ones, according to my list here, look to be coming out relatively on time, at least scheduled to. Katie?
Yes. So my next pick is Freyren Beyond Journey's End, Volume 12, also from Viz Media. Loving this series. It is about an elf who initially makes friends with a adventuring party made up of mostly humans and one dwarf, and what happens when you could live for hundreds, even thousands of years, but humans have a lifespan of around 100, maybe even less. And she is now learning how to be a better friend, how to be a better companion, and what the meaning of our short lives really is here on Earth, as she has found a new adventuring party and taken on new apprentices to go and destroy the Demon King. Loving the series so much. It's written by Kanehito Yamada, and the art is by Tsukasa Abe. It's going to be available on February 12th for $12. Check this out. I am really enjoying it.
Cool. Eric?
All right, next I guess they're reprinting the old Crow comics. So I'm looking at the reissue of Crow Flesh and Blood by the original James O'Barr. Against the rugged beauty of the Western Mountains, Iris Shaw, a federal conservation officer, is murdered when right-wing extremists blow up her office. But her death is only part of the tragedy. She was carrying an unborn child. Denied peace, Iris is resurrected by the Crow to seek brutal vengeance on the men who stole her life and future. Now, driven by supernatural fury, she hunts them down one by one, delivering justice from beyond the grave. Now, after hearing about how horrible the Crow reboot was, yeah, I kind of want to have something to wash my mouth from it, so I want to see like the original comics where it comes from by the original author. So interested in seeing this come out.
I'm not familiar with the Everything Sucks comic books, but Matt Rogers, our friend over at Cartoonist by Night, he's been talking about being excited about them. And there's a list of a lot of one-shots that are in this catalog. Kirby is not in his head, so maybe he knows a little more. The one that caught my mind, I haven't read any of these, but this one I think I'm going to buy. Everything Sucks. All Cats Go to Hell one-shot. Everything, let's see, hold on here. Everyone loves cats, but no one knows the truth. They're maliciously smart, can't be trusted, and may actually understand how deadbolts work. Honestly, he really shouldn't be left alone with them. This Everything Sucks comic can be read as a standalone and includes a foil cardstock cover and a sticker sheet. So some of these here, at least this one has a $7.99 price tag, but comes with a sticker sheet and a little tougher cover image and or stock or whatever. So this is going to be my dive into this. Kirby, you've been nodding your head. Can you say anything about Everything Sucks?
I like it. I've only got a couple issues so far, but I like how almost every one of them's a one shot, and everyone comes usually with sticker sheet, some little bonuses and stuff. So the first issue that came out, I was like, "Wow, that's a pretty big price tag for a fresh new comic." And then I seen the bonuses, so I'm like, "Yeah, I'll check it out." And I actually enjoyed what I did see so far. So this one I was probably thinking about getting too.
Yeah, Rogers always seems to have the issue at his, next to him whenever we're recording, and it's just like I don't know if he's always reading it or he has to read it yet or something. But him bringing it up, it kind of caught my attention, and then I'm like, all right, I'll give this one a shot. And it's good to know that a lot of these have been standalone. But yeah, there's maybe like 5 or 6 of them I think that are listed in this catalog, so I'll try this one. Okay, so I said that, and then Kirby, you're next.
I got Hell is a Squared Circle, one shot. We got Chris Condon and Francisco Biagini on this one. Is wrestling noir a genre? It is now. Ted, the Irish Muska Walsh, is a third-tier wrestling heel with a problem. Himself. He's behind on rent, child support, and his career, but he thinks he can change things. As he attempts to take control of his life, his actions leave him with blood on his hands. Ted finds himself on the run from the authorities and the darkness of his past as Ted tries to escape his former self and build a new, better future. His mistakes come back to haunt him in the ring and out of it. I just been putting a bunch of wrestling comics together. So that's going on the pile.
And I'll give you this information because I was intrigued on this, but I'm like, something about it sounds familiar. Aftershock has been resoliciting a lot of their old work because I don't think they're producing new stuff. This one came out in 2022. I did buy it, and I remember talking about it on the show. So just in case that maybe you have it in your collection, Just to
Yeah, I'll
double,
definitely have to check.
because I had to look too. I'm like, oh, is this like another one? And then I just double checked now, and yeah, so 2022 it came out. I remember enjoying it. I'm pretty sure I talked about it on the club. So,
Yeah, I
but
wish they'd put Resolicit on there.
yeah, and the only thing that flagged it for me, because I think like Aftershock was having some issues with some of their production and whatever, and
Yeah.
it seems
Not paying people.
yeah. So it seems like now they're just like, all right, let's just keep putting out the stuff that's been out and whatever. So yeah. So just a heads up on that, in case you double buy it. So okay, Katie.
There's some cool Lord of the Rings figures. It looks like they might be re-releases, but they're from Diamond Select Toys. Actually from across a couple different series of theirs. The only one that looks kind of janky is Frodo, but everyone else looks pretty cool. And we do have some of the bad guys in there, so that's always refreshing. They're $30. I'll be honest, I don't really have a lot of room for figures. Right now I'm trying to cut them down, but if you are interested in getting action figures, you know, they're not vintage ones, so you don't have to worry about taking them out of the box. And while the Weta Workshop collectibles are beautiful, they're a lot more expensive than $30. But I just thought this was cool, and yeah, low key, I am trying to be like, well, I could fit them in somewhere anyway. Lord of the Rings figures, $30. Check it out. And that's going to be the end of my previews picks, unless we have anything for the club.
Excellent. And if people are watching the video version, which I obviously encourage, now I'm looking at the beautiful bookshelf behind you, Katie, and you might be able to stand some of them up in front of the books. Maybe a
Oh,
couple here and there.
sure.
Maybe you could still get at the books, but
Yeah, no, maybe double up on a couple of rows so that I have a whole space for figures. I
yeah,
like the way you're thinking. That's good. Yeah.
I'm looking out. So all right,
Thank you.
Eric.
All right. Last pick. I was actually surprised when you brought up a Roman Dirge book because there's a series running now called Lenore the Time War,
Ooh,
where Lenore faces off against the legendary Time Goats in the greatest of all time fight of the century. Lenore's getting ready to embark on an epic quest across the very fabric of time and space to rescue her chums. But first, she's got to do battle with Thoth, the actual god of time and space. So I don't know if this is the same Thoth that we saw in Buffy, but we can dream, right? So yeah, I mean, I like Lenore. She's a fun, poor, oblivious little dead girl, but I liked it since high school. So
cool.
yeah.
All right, the next one I was excited. It's an issue number 2, but I have to give it extra props because I gave it so much love the first time. Frankie Boy Monster issue number 2 is in the catalog. I'm holding up the first issue here. Growing up is hard enough, but it's even harder when you're a reanimated boy dealing with the isolation of a helicopter parent and fighting werewolves. This person, you can definitely tell, is a huge fan of Mike Mignola. You see so much inspiration. I mean, right there on the cover is just a flat out homage to that, and following their work online and just seeing their love for Mike and his work and Hellboy and everything. I was excited to see Frankie Boy Monster number 2 pop up in the catalog here, so I'm definitely going to get the next issue of that. So Frankie Boy Monster issue number 2, Kirby.
All right, I got Usagi Yojimbo 10,000 Plums number 1. One of the Shogun's samurai strongmen becomes immediately suspicious when Usagi, Yukichi, and Gen are found wandering in a huge field of the Shogun's prized plum trees. With a series of strange events gripping the local village with fear, and their appearance be a mere coincidence. The next run of Usagi on the ongoing. Always happy to pick them up.
Excellent. And then to reconfirm, I'm pretty sure both Katie and Eric were done, if I'm not mistaken. All right.
Yep.
So there's more Godzilla. I've been buying more Godzilla than I ever thought I would have, and there's a new series that seems like it's going to be a series of one shots. I actually have the that awesome one that's I can't think of the title right now, but it's in my to read pile. The one where they're doing like a different like off.
Cocked you.
What's that?
Cockchew.
Not that one. Um, the one where it's like, they're like doing like a Shakespearean takes and like they're doing like a whatever with Godzilla. But anyways, that's beside the point. Godzilla versus Chicago. So they're going to go through a new series debut. Godzilla's coming to America, and his first stop, Chicago. Join a star-studded crew of Chicago comics creators through the 4 epic stories across the Windy City. The L Train experiences its worst delays yet. Godzilla interrupts a major sporting event, and a new Chicago-based superhero reaches the end of her rope. The issue features a superstar lineup of creators, including Tim Seeley, as well as Mike Costa. Ryan Brown is in there. That's awesome. Caroline Cash and Ezra Clayton Daniels. Let's see. Join us for the start of a new anthology series that follows Godzilla across the United States. Definitely going to get the Chicago one, having the bonus of Tim Seeley and Ryan Brown contributing stories in there. That's just awesome. But yep, Chicago's destination of mine several times a year, so I will definitely check out this first one. So that is going to be Godzilla versus Chicago. Kirby?
Yeah, I was all excited about that one. I was going to grab it right out the bat, but now I want to see where they go. I don't know why they started in Chicago. It's like Godzilla obviously had to get to Lake Michigan. There's no way he'd appear out of Lake Michigan. He'd come from the ocean first to get there.
Maybe it was
just my little picky stuff.
Maybe it was airlifted by King Kong driving a plane, flying a plane or something. So
Yeah. All right. My next one is Kendra. We got Ben Dunn doing some more work here. We got story by Ben Dunn and Joe Wolf and art by Ben Dunn. The newest heroine from the godfather of American manga, following unsteadily in the grand tradition of Deja Thoris, Red Sonja, and Valeria, destined for riches and glory, foiled only by a low luck stat, in a land of barbarians, dragons, and spellcasters, Kendra, a sultry siren of a sellsword, always seems to get the short end of the stick as she navigates the trials and tribulations of this unforgiving world. Always looking for the next employment opportunity, she is hired by a most unlikely patron on a quest that may prove more daunting than she realized. I've been following Ben Dunn working on this character and stuff, so I figure I'm definitely going to check out at least the first few issues, and this is a 3-issue run.
cool. I get excited because a couple times a year I get to keep bringing up Brenna Thumler on the Crimson Cowl Comic Club. She has a new project coming out in the beginning of the year, and we will be extending that invite that she expressed interest into jumping onto the show when the new project is out. But in the meantime, the project we know her from is Sheets, the graphic novel trilogy series, and I love it so much that I've got the original 3 paperback editions. And then I also had to get the brand new paperback editions that came in the slip case. So fancy little slipcase edition. Then I had to go ahead and I've been buying extra copies that I do gift to people. So I always have sets of the Sheets trilogy. And now the reason I bring all this up because we had the Sheets in the paperback, and then they came out with the hardcover edition. And then the second follow-up book is Delicates, and they came out with the hardcover edition of that one. And now Lights, the third and final book in that series, is available in the deluxe hardcover edition. So I got to keep completing all of these different collections. I'll keep buying this book till the end of time. And as an extra bonus, she is continuing the stories of these characters through her Patreon page. There's a recent thing within the last month or two at the time of this recording, and she's kind of doing it as kind of like a web comic type of a release, and it's only available through the Patreon. I don't know if there's an ultimate goal of putting out a collection of this stuff, but it's all in meant starting a Patreon and helping her with some funds and some new equipment and stuff for her comic creating. And so yeah, she's telling some new stories with these characters beyond the books there. So ultimately it's a plug for the Lights hardcover edition. to get that final volume of that story in that format, as well as Brenna Thumler over on Patreon. So lights, hardcover, action. All right. I didn't even script that. That just happened. Go on, Kirby.
That she Haikio. I just talked about she on the last issue, the new run. This it doesn't say if it's going to be a 2-issue run or not. After the terrifying events of Chi Return of the Warrior, Ana Ishikawa must now ally herself with her lifelong enemy, Masahiro Arashi, save her teenage daughter who's been kidnapped by the murderous Dr. Blevins, 2-Chi variant featuring She Before a Sea of Cherry Blossoms. Yeah, that's a cover I'd probably end up getting anyways, but yeah. I like that last run, so I'm glad they're going to keep bringing out stuff.
Cool. All right, this one here, I think originally started as a Kickstarter thing, if I'm not mistaken. This is called Pop Kill. This is by Jimmy Palmiotti and Dave Johnson. Let's see. Imagine a world where the two dominant and competing cola companies, each worth billions, are owned by former Siamese twins who are now separated and have grown to hate each other so much that they hire assassins. It's saboteurs and espionage personnel to meddle with each other on a daily basis. This is the story about brotherly love run afoul and the people they enlist to do their dirty work. So yeah, Jimmy Palmiotti has a lot of stuff with his paper films, I think, is his comic book publishing company. This is being published by Mad Cave Studios, but this stuff looks familiar. I think I've gotten some incentives from some other Kickstarters and everything, but the actual story, I might have like a random issue of this or so. But this popped up in the catalog, so I'll have to look at my basically a reminder to double check my collection to see what I have for Pop Kill, or if this is a brand new version of a story. Kirby?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious where that's going to go because it mentioned something at the top, like this is the beginning of the Soda Pop Wars or the Cola Pop Wars or something. So I'm curious if they're going to have different shootouts from it or what's their plans. All right. My last one is Money Shot #1. I know we talked about the other one. This is the beginning of the next run. You ever see that second Ewoks movie? The one where they suddenly kill off all the characters from the first movie? And you were like, Mommy, why? Oh God, why? Well, this new Money Shot arc is like that with a lot less body hair, somewhat more sex, and the same amount of people yelling for mommy. The Triple Explorers return just in time to witness the rise of an anti-sex death cult. Now it's a race against time, and the relay team includes alien strippers.
Okay,
It's such a fun run by Patton Oswalt and the gang. Tim Seeley, Patton Oswalt, Garth Graham, Kurt Michael Russell, and Crank.
yeah, and I think Patton is a new addition to that team because, yeah, originally being a Sealy, but now he's, especially with all the minor threats going on, and now he's being thrown into there, so that's cool.
Yep.
Okay, this one caught my attention from Dark Horse Comics. Who are the Power Pals? Issue #1. Washed up actors Derek and Alex have been best friends ever since playing teen superheroes Swallow and Buzzard in the 90s TV show Power Pals. Wait, you've never heard of it? Don't worry, you're not alone. It was canceled after 3 episodes, but that small taste of fame left them hungry for more, and they've been trying to get back on the Hollywood train ever since. After being fired from their studio security jobs and dropped by their agent, the middle-aged pair decide to don their own costumes and thrust themselves back into the public eye, walking the Hollywood Boulevard alongside the popular cosplayers. When a video of the duo defending tourists from being badgered by a pair of rip-off characters goes viral, the attention inspires them to fight more crime. But when their low-level crime fighting inadvertently disrupts the plans of a crazed crime boss, their friendship will undergo the ultimate test, and it, or they, may not survive long enough to enjoy their newfound fame. That was a lot of setup there, but I think it's enough to give it a shot. Sounds like a funny little premise. Anytime you have a story of people kind of, pretending to be superheroes, and, these are former actors that are on a TV superhero show. And I'm usually in for that, that kick-ass type of concept and everything. So, yeah, that is Who Are the Power Pals? And let's see if there's anything left unsaid. There's more Graveyard Club from R.L. Stine, so I'm getting that. Let's see here. Almost done with the list. And I think that is going to do it. A couple of the Archie one-shot things that we're always talking about. And yeah, that's going to do it. So we can only cover a certain preview of all those previews, but we highly encourage you to check out your local comic book shop, your preferred online retailer, go through those catalogs, get those pre-orders in. You can go to Under the Cowl of MS because Kirby goes through the catalogs more in depth and shows off more stuff. And I'm sure, have some of those episodes been out yet or slowly coming out at the time of this recording, I think?
Yeah, today, well, probably a week before this, the first episode will be coming out. So
Okay.
I'm
So, yeah,
not sure exactly when you're releasing this, but on the Saturday prior, first
all right.
episode.
By the time this is out, you'll probably have them all out then, based on that.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, highly check that out so you can get your pre-ordered. You got your comics pre-ordered rather, and make sure that your stores and your publishers and creators and everybody knows you want their stuff. That is going to do it for this episode. Some quick plugs: crimsoncowl.com for info on original webcomics. There's some free webcomics on there that we did back on Halloween. There was a trailer on the YouTube version of this show that kind of shows off a Rice Christopher preview, and then David Gloyd the senior. Senior has a story himself that had some additional art assistance by David Gloyd the second. And let's see here. So that's all at crimsoncowl.com. Crimson Cowl Comic Club on iTunes. Rate, subscribe, review, all of that for the audio version. Full video experience on YouTube. Subscribe, comment, and all of that fun stuff. Kirby has Under the Cowl of MS if you want to let people know what's been going on over there.
Doing lots of usual reviews, previews, all that good stuff, unboxings, and I've been recently been adding all the Cryptic Cult Comic Club episodes and stuff to my YouTube channel, and you can also, I've been adding anything that I do live with people, including on Thursdays now. I do the chaotic comic book covers, displays, and more with YT Friends, the longest name in YouTube. So check that out if you want. And like I said, you can find them all on my YouTube channel under the Cowl of MS.
Excellent. So yeah, subscribe to that on YouTube, social medias, and wherever you get your podcast. All right, then we're going to jump over to, I've got copies of Rice Christopher. You can comment below or wherever. Send an email to latchkid@gmail.com. I'm working on the second issue, and based on whenever this is going to be released, just go to my social media at Anthony Laatsch, Laatsch, because I am releasing a one-page Christmas story for Rice Christopher. Fun little gag and done in 6 panels. By the time this is released, it's probably going to be up there. So check that out. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram through my name on those channels. And I host Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube. David Gloyd was one of the recent guests. And once again, based on when this stuff comes out, we already have one episode in the can, and we're going to do a second episode. But we are doing some mega holiday special episodes because I still have my Santa hat nearby because we did one last night at the time of this recording. So the Cartoonist by Night holiday spectacular, and we did night 1, in which we invited all 18 of our past guests for anybody who wanted to jump into the Zoom. We definitely had some people show up, so that was cool. We're going to do a round 2 of that to allow other people to do that and have some repeat guests as well. So, yeah, we're all getting festive over here and having a lot of fun. So go to Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube. The night 1 special that we did, I think it was way better than it had any right to be because we had, I think, 9 screens going, 8 people and 9 screens because D-Brad had a drawing screen up separately. And it flowed real nice. And yeah, I wasn't sure how it was going to go on when you have so many voices and things, so many moving parts, but it went really well, and we're going to see if we can top that with night two. So, Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube for some fun holiday celebration. And I think that is going to do it then for this episode. And this is going to do it for the last episode of 2024 for recording of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club. So thank you, everybody. If you are brand new to the club in the year 2024, it was definitely another fun year celebrating issue number 300 and going forth with that, having some creator interviews again, bringing in some past guests, reaching out to advertise their stuff, having some new people as well, making connections, having fun. If you like that, if you have a comic book fan in your life and they need a good comic book podcast with reviews and insight and just all of recommendations and stuff, highly suggest to share the show, let people know about it through iTunes as well as YouTube, and then all the stuff that Kirby and I do with our separate shows as well. It's been a lot of fun. It's great hanging out with the Crimson Cowl Comic Club crew. Can't wait to see what 2025 has in store as we continue on with the show. And yeah, so that is going to do it. Happy holidays, everybody. This whole time, I smelled like copper and sweat and wedding cake.
I've been avoiding Groot snot while trying to find a kiss under the mistletoe.
I've been waiting for Santa Claus.
I've been wondering when Suburban Commando is going to get the sequel it deserves.
To be continued, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Slimer.